problem property ordinances. All right, so the way I've read it, it's like a 7-pager. 8 valid complaints means police came there and it's a valid complaint and you're on a problem property, but it's kind of layered. Like I think like 3, you get a letter. Why don't you talk about, it's been successful so far with the letters, I think you said, right?
So, right, we've been trying to perfect our system, and we're still working on it, to be honest with you. But what we have seen, because we've sent out a ton of first letters when you meet the first threshold of 5 complaints in a 12-month period. And those complaints are not just any complaint, got to be legitimate complaints, noise, violence, not domestic violence per se, because we want to make sure we continue to get those calls. So after we meet that first threshold, we'll send a letter to the landlord wanting them, if they don't correct the problems, that we'll have the opportunity to send them a second letter and bill them for the services. So we have yet to have the opportunity to send that second letter because we've had a lot of success with that first letter. Is there room for some improvement with the ordinance? Well, that's probably true with most laws and legislation that we put out there. I know on our end, and I had this discussion before I left the office today with Deputy Chief Cordeiro on how we're going to perfect how we're collecting the data and attaching the data to the appropriate address and doing our follow-ups. So one thing we are doing now on our CompStat meetings is we're adding that to our data that we're analyzing in front of our command staff. When we have a house that we've gone to 2 or more times in the past month, we'll bring it up and try to identify what's the root cause so we can solve the problem before it becomes more of a problem.
My issue, and I would like to see the city council potentially put it up there, is all calls are equal. So we had a North Front Street property that had 3 drug raids in 6 weeks, 4 this year alone. And that's only 4 valid complaints. So you have a drug raid is the same as a, hey, your TV's too loud, like a noise ordinance like violation. Would you support something where a drug raid means more than other calls?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, definitely. Like I was saying, the legislation, the ordinance isn't perfect, but it's been a great tool for us. Could it be tweaked so we could become even more effective with the enforcement? I think you bring up a valid point. Like when you're seeing a drug raid has the same value as a noise ordinance complaint, a barking dog or loud music, or just people out there arguing all the time, on the parking lot, in the porch or whatever. There should be a different value, I think, for the drug raid. For sure, that's something that the city councils can certainly consider. I would certainly support some tweaking of that ordinance.